right, let's see if anybody hops in here. What's up, world? Nobody's out there yet, but if you watch the second rendition or third, you will definitely catch this bit. What's up, IDP Army, Dynasty Nerds, Nerd Herd, family, friends? Jordan Rains at 50 Shades of Drunk, joined tonight by Marvin. How you doing, Marv?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Really excited to talk some IDP and talk about our league that we're in. And yeah, doing well. So it's a good way to start the weekend.
Yeah, Marv has been riding with me at Dynasty Nerds. You got signed on about a year ago too, right? A little over a year ago?
It's actually been about 6 or 7 months. I think it was like late March that I joined in. And yeah, it's been an awesome ride so far, writing articles for them.
Yeah, it's a good team over there. Appreciate, everybody there's, good people, Dennis, Rich, all those guys they're awesome.
Sure.
It's a great platform to have. And now you're with the Ballers too. You added a little redraft in there. How's that going?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a crazy, week and a half since I found out. It all happened so quickly. And yeah, I'll be writing for them once the season starts. I'll be hopefully doing some weekly articles for them, mixed in with some Dynasty too. So that'll be exciting. So it's not too far off from what I'm doing with Dynasty Nerds anyway. So yeah, I'm excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm happy to have an IDP mole in the Ballers camp now.
Let's get it going, right?
Yeah, buddy, let's do this. All right, well, guys, we're gonna go over the the IDP RB Invitational Draft. That's something that I kind of put together early this off season. I'm going to read to you guys basically what I sent out to. I reached out to a lot of different analysts and people around the community, and I'll just tell you kind of what I told them, and I'll read back who joined and what they're all about and what their organizations are and all that. And then we're going to talk about our draft and some of our favorite picks, some of the people's squads that we like, some of the stronger stables at certain positions, and break it down for you, as well as drop some big IDP news here in just a minute. So I'll go ahead and read off. This is the invitational letter I sent to everybody, including Marv. It says, "Greetings, fellow fantasy football fanatic. My name is Jordan Rains, and I'd like to formally invite you to Sigh. Yes, another fantasy football league. But wait, this one is unique and has a unique purpose, and you were invited for a unique reason. IDP, individual defensive players, fantasy football needs your help. One of the biggest hurdles in IDP and what it's facing is that the number of people in the community that are exposed to it. Content creators and fantasy players alike are missing out on half of fantasy football. This league will host content creators from various platforms, organizations within the fantasy community, all with 1 or less years experience playing IDP, providing a competitive but non-intimidating atmosphere to experience fantasy football at its best. It is my sincere hope that you accept this invitation, and together we can help increase awareness to one of fantasy football's best-kept secrets." And Marv was one of the first people who told me yes. As anybody who has ever asked for something, I got a lot of no's. But the people who ended up saying yes were very quality people, and I'm really excited about this league, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And IDP's on the come up, guys. I mean, you still have 2 weeks to get in the league, so, get it done. So, yeah, that was kind of the purpose and the reason for this league, to help IDP grow, get the message out there, get it in front of more people. And yeah, I'm really excited about this league. I'm going to tell you guys some of the other people in there besides Marv. We got Kate from the FF Ball Blast podcast. We got Jake Trowbridge from the Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football pod. We have Ray Garvin of the Destination Devy pod. Matthew Bruning, who also works with us at Dynasty Nerds, and he does the Fantasy Football Roundtable podcast with our editor Dennis. Shout out Dennis, we love him. Then we have FF or Dynasty Fantasy Football Addict, who is co-host of the Dynasty Junkies podcast. Then we have Nixon, Framing Handling Nixon, who does the Two in the Bink Fantasy Football podcast. We have Laquan Jones, who does a lot of stuff on YouTube. Love him. And then we have EK, Eric. He's one of our editors at Dynasty Nerds too, and we love EK. So all of them were kind enough to join this league. And yeah, Marv, tell us kind of what your thoughts are going into this draft. What was your anticipation like? What were your thought processes going in?
Well, it was a little daunting at first, not going to lie, because you dive into this and you have, just a whole pool of players to choose from now, and it's a whole different strategy. So, it was interesting to start researching it, but once we got into the draft, it's just like rediscovering fantasy football all over again. Really, it's a whole new aspect of fantasy football that I didn't really touch until now, and it's amazing. I love it. It adds just a different wrinkle to the drafts, a different aspect to the strategy. So, I had a ton of fun. The season hasn't even started, but I'm looking forward to just, following these defensive players, which, I haven't done in the past. I know guys from the teams that I follow, but now I get to follow some of the other guys as well, which is going to be really awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It definitely, like you said, it adds such another layer to your draft. It adds a whole new layer to your team building strategies. And when, if you tier rank, if you do tier based drafting too, it's like if you miss certain players in certain tiers at other positions, you're able to move laterally and still get quality players in rounds 10, 11, 12 that are going to be starters for your team, which is really fun. That is one thing we will talk about in just a minute, too, about the length of the draft, which is, I will say that an IDP draft is a gauntlet. I mean, it's a marathon sometimes, especially if things slow down. So that is one thing that I know has deterred some people in the past from joining IDP leagues. But we can maybe workshop some like creative ways to, get around that or make that go a little bit quicker. But we will get to that soon. Okay, so we're at this point in the show. I'm going to go ahead and kind of bury the lead. But we have some big news for the IDP community, for the Dynasty Nerds community, for the Nerd Herd, and the IDP Army. I got the official word today that as of today, the site standard for IDP scoring is going to be IDP 123 scoring. If you guys know me, follow me, that's my brainchild. That is my baby. That is what I spent all off season working on. I've been working on it for months, kind of perfecting it and putting it in front of as many eyes as I could and telling as many people as I could, and, getting these leagues and getting people involved. And the Dynasty Nerds are backing me up. They said, that we need a site standard for our tool that's out, the Dynasty GM, and we need our rankings to be synced, have consistency throughout when everybody's ranking, and we need to have a cohesiveness. And they're moving forward with IDP 123 as our site standard for scoring. So that is awesome. That was huge news for me. That was, validation to a lot of hard work. And I'm really excited about the team, really taking this thing to the next level. And as you know, thankfully, Marv was one of the early adopters. He's already in an IDP 123 league. And so are all those other guys that I mentioned. So this time next year, I expect the fantasy football, the IDP community, the content to be for IDP to see a pretty good spike, because I think you guys are all going to be like me and just be. I mean, I've only done one draft this offseason that wasn't IDP. Like, I'm hooked. Like, you just like a regular offensive draft is just, it's nothing anymore. And it's just like 15 rounds. I'm gonna go to bed,
Yeah, no kidding. So I was actually just in a league where we just started our draft and it was offense only, and I was surprised that we got it done in like 2 days. It's just 15 rounds. It goes so quickly. 16 rounds, I think it was. And this one was just a different beast. So it's, definitely is a challenge. I'm looking forward to even just joining a dynasty league, even with IDP. It's gonna be fun. So
whole another wrinkle. And like you said, roster construction, team building, all that stuff. It's so much more in depth and so much more interesting. And I'm very excited for when we do get our ranks all updated and get that kind of into the Dynasty GM tool. But yeah, there you guys go. The IDP world will never be the same, as some people like to say. So there was that announcement. Again, big shout out to Dynasty Nerds for, going out and saying that they're going to back me on this. And I really appreciate that. And I am pumped to be in this league with you guys. Do we play each other week 1? Let's take a look here.
I don't think so. I think I play Matt actually week 1.
You got lucky.
Yeah, pretty solid team though. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that matchup.
Thank you. All right, well, let's go ahead. I'm going to try to pull up our draft board for you guys. Let's see. I had that up earlier. Okay, here it is. Let's do this. Stop sharing. Screen share. Application window. You got any projects you're working on with the nerds currently? Anything you want to tease for the people?
Right now I'm just closing out an article series that I've been working on throughout the summer, and it's that rookie opportunity series that I started back in March and April, kind of just looking at the opportunity landscape for rookies coming into the league. And now just starting to recap it now that we're entering the season, looking at some of the guys that could contribute even as rookies this year. So I think I have my running back articles out there right now, wide receivers coming out, and quarterbacks hopefully within the next week or so. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on right now.
Nice. Yeah, I love reading your thread. The first time I ever really came across you on Twitter, you had this awesome thread, and I was like, I only retweet things that I really think are valuable and useful, and I was like, dude, this guy's gonna be fire. And here you are, with the ballers, and I'm really proud of you and happy for you. But let's take a look here. Our first thing Yeah, no problem. Let's talk about our first round picks. You know, this draft took place
Yeah.
about a month ago, so things were a little different, but it is super flex. I'll go ahead and go first. I got Saquon at 102. That's kind of just a phone it in pick, honestly.
Mhm.
I did consider Patrick Mahomes there, but
Mhm.
I've got a lot of Patrick Mahomes. I've gone out of my way. This is, I am not ashamed to say that I will take Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes a little higher than some people. But I was like, I'm going to get Saquon. I don't have a lot of Saquon shares. I rarely have a draft pick that high. So I went Saquon. That's kind of boring, but where were you at? You were down here near the end. Talk us through this
Yeah.
turn here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was at the turn. Like I never really liked drafting around the turn anyways. But I wanted to grab a running back here. I think this was still before Derrick Henry. I think we weren't sure. I guess there was never really any concern he would hold out, but it was before his contract. So I was like, well, Dalvin Cook to me is a top 5 running back in PPR. And, the risk is obviously that he holds out, but I'm going for upside here. It's a deep league. So I wanted to grab Dalvin Cook and, RB2 in PPR points per game last year. You can't really go wrong if he's healthy and he's not holding out. I think he could be a high upside successful pick here at 111. So fingers crossed.
You look at those PPR weekly finishes. I mean, he's not even close to a single digit week, not even close. So
yeah,
that's what you're looking for. If the floor is 15, the ceiling is the roof, as they say.
Hey, I'll take that.
Hell yeah. And then you circled back around, you took Joe Mixon. How you feeling about these headaches and this mysterious injury right now?
this is I feel like my 2 picks like high upside, but potentially low floor if they hold out.
Real low floor.
I mean, we'll go through the rest of the draft later. I didn't get Madison in this draft, and I believe I got Gio towards the later picks, but I could be in trouble if they hold out. But if they're there, I like the fact that they're both 3 down backs, receiving backs in this scoring format. I'll take that. There's definitely risk, but yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You do know this draft was old whenever you see Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 402. Holy moly.
Pre opt out of Damian Williams, right? So that's a steal.
Yeah, talk about that. I remember when you made that pick, the group chat kind of blew up a little bit. People were like, "Oh my gosh, I was just about to take him." Like, you're a shark, though, dude. I mean, if people can see right here, just from what they can see, they probably see that. But those were our first round picks. I came back. I got Deshaun Watson. I think that the rushing floor is going to kind of be there this year. The receiving weapons were kind of about, but I mean, we saw what a guy like Carson Wentz could do with receiving weapons last year. If Deshaun Watson's weapons hit, they're 10 million times better than anything he had, and he's 10 million times better than Carson Wentz. So I think to get him in a super flex league at the end of the second round is a pretty good steal for me. So
absolutely.
All right. So next question I had here in our notes is, if there was anything you would have done differently with some of these early picks, just kind of looking, is there anything you would have maybe changed, maybe in the first 5-6 rounds? Like, how do you feel about Matt Ryan there? Do you feel like that was a little high for him, or?
Yeah, when I was looking at this draft again, I think that's the one where I slightly regret grabbing a quarterback. I guess I didn't anticipate that, if we go further down, there's so many quarterbacks that are drafted in the 10th round, even in the 13th round for a redraft league. Those guys will produce, right? And I wanted to grab one of the top quarterbacks here. Didn't think quarterbacks would fall that far. Now I kind of look back and think it would have been awesome to grab, Myles Garrett or an Aaron Donald to pair with a Jalen Smith, kind of setting myself up there at linebacker and D-line. But, I love Matt Ryan for this year, but if I would have known that I could, I grabbed Stafford later and then grab, a Big Ben or a Gardner Minshew, Tom Brady even later, I probably would have done that instead.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I thought, I'm circling back up with I thought I was getting one over on people with Deshaun Watson and Josh Allen. And then we had an entire round here in round 5 where nobody took a quarterback. And then we got these guys down here at 10 getting Gardner Minshew, who I think the difference between Gardner Minshew and Josh Allen this year isn't that big for me. So I kind of feel I'm with you. I kind of regretted it. I kind of thought people would go a little bit more quarterback heavy. But this year, I'll say this year is not like last year with super flex drafts. Last year, people were, I mean, you didn't leave the first 6 rounds without 2 quarterbacks unless you were being contrarian, like intentionally. And now it seems like the tide has shifted a little bit to where people are walking past some of these quarterbacks just because the jumble of guys after the top tier guys, I mean, it really is kind of any man's game any week. So I'm with you. I think that maybe I took quarterback a little too high, although I didn't have to worry about quarterback again until forever. So I was
I mean, that's a pretty good, pair right there. Deshaun Watson and Josh Allen, that kind of sets you up for week to week upside. So definitely don't mind that.
Yep. All right. Well, let's next question. Draft length. We kind of alluded that earlier. Anybody that's never been in an IDP draft, these things, I mean, this is where your usual draft ends, right around 16. This thing goes and goes and goes, guys. We went 35 rounds. That's to get, enough starters and bench players, basically to back up 80% of the guys that we're going to be starting. I didn't want to make it too deep. If you're in a dynasty IDP league, you're talking sometimes going 65, 70 rounds. So those things are a true gauntlet. I did a couple of those last summer, a months long draft. So, but, we talked, you actually were the one guy I messaged about that too, the length of this draft. We kind of thought, there, just that alone kind of makes IDP tough. It's it's got a few tough asks, it's learning multiple new positions. Some leagues don't have a unified scoring system, which IDP 123 is going to fix that. That won't be an issue if you're playing with the Dynasty Nerds now scoring system. But some of them have positions where certain things are worth, it's like premiums. A tackle is worth 2, 3, 1 point, depending on the position. So it can be tough for people. That's a hurdle. And then the length of these drafts, a live IDP draft, I can honestly say I've never actually done a live IDP and mixed draft just because of the length of them. We're talking multiple hours. And but we had thought that maybe one thing people might want to do, especially if you're going to implement IDP into your dynasty leagues, is do a supplemental draft. So, draft season comes around, it's, April, May, June, and you're doing your rookie draft anyway, and you want to add IDP in, do your rookie draft, and then do a supplemental IDP draft to just add it in there. And that way you don't have to go through a whole new startup. You can actually just add IDP into your league. Do you think that might be something that people would be open to in the future?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. That's, we were talking about, I mentioned to you a couple of weeks back that I wanted to join a dynasty league with IDP. Like, it'd be awesome to do that. But I'm sure, like many people, that you're already in 10, 20 leagues or whatever it may be, and you don't want to add another league. If you want to join IDP and try IDP, doing that supplemental draft would actually be, the best way to integrate it into your league that's already existing, and then introduce it to others as well. So that's one of the things I've definitely thought of to see, like, next off season, how do I introduce this to some of my league mates? Because it'd be awesome to just have that extra, just more players to start. I think it's just more exciting that way. So yeah,
that's kind of something I think I'm going to maybe be vocal about next year. If people want to do IDP, don't just do a whole new startup draft. That might get a little tedious. Just find one of your leagues and some league mates that are open-minded. And, we love the draft. People live for the draft. In the off season, your rookie draft, I mean, that is the event. Make 2 events. Make that event a rookie draft and then a supplemental IDP team. And then from there, every year you would do mixed rookie and then just kind of go from there. So that was something we talked about. I think that could maybe be something that people grab a hold of. Talk to me about your first IDP pick here, Jalen Smith, who I'm obsessed with. But tell me what made you take Jalen Smith when there were some other guys on the board?
Well, I saw your rankings and saw that he was 3rd, right, on there. So I had to grab him. No, but I, doing research on some of these players, obviously in the scoring format that we're in, IDP 1, 2, 3, it's, tackles are key, right? Getting those solo tackles and assisted tackles too. And this guy's just been racking up tackles. He's had at least 120 tackles over the last 2 seasons combined. He's finished as a LB5, LB7. He's one of those top guys that will continue to he'll produce. And I know he didn't play his first year, but he's been healthy over the last 3 seasons, right? So that's I love that. I think that I think there's a lot of opportunity there in Dallas, and I was pumped to get him. Definitely grab one of those top linebackers. I think was one of my goals going into this draft.
Yeah, you definitely nailed one of the top guys. I mean, on my rankings on Dynasty Nerds, I think I have it. Darius Leonard, TJ Watt is at 2 now for me. And then Jalen Smith is 3. I might have moved him down. So up here we got Kate actually was the first person to jump into the IDP fray, it looks like, and she took TJ Watt, who's my number 2 guy in Dynasty. In IDP 1, 2, 3 scorings. You guys already know this guy's a monster because, I mean, he fills up the stat sheet. This doesn't show past deflections, but if it showed past deflections, he'd have a ton of those too. But, I mean, look at this sack streak he had from week 4 to week 14. I mean, sack, 2 sacks, sack and a half, 2 sacks, half a sack, sack and a half. I mean, talk about a consistent guy. And on top of that, he's doing so many other things. So I had him at 2. Kate is a Steelers fan. If you're watching, you see I'm a Steelers fan too. I'm also a Chiefs fan. Don't get it twisted. You can be both. But I love my dude TJ Watt. I was happy to see him go to another Steelers fan, somebody who's worthy, and it was very exciting to see him go first off the board. That shows that Kate is sharp, even though she might be pretending she doesn't know what IDP is. Which is funny, when I reached out to her, she told me that like one of the first leagues she ever played in was an IDP league. She said she hadn't been back to it to visit it, but she wanted to. And I was like, hell yeah, girl, let's get in here. So she nailed the draft. I love that TJ Watt pick. Let's see, who was my first pick? I'm a Nick Bosa stan. I mean, I'm obsessed with this guy. I have him everywhere. You know, the smile got me. I mean, I'll admit it. I mean, look at that guy. He's so cute. He's
Baby
fat.
Bosa, right? Isn't that what you call him?
Baby Bosa, that's what I call him.
There you go.
I got a couple little nicknames. I call him Baby Bosa. I call Fred Warner. I call him Freddie Prince Warner.
Nice.
Who are some of my other nicknames? Maybe as I see them, I'll bring them up. But yeah, I got Baby Bosa. He's a beast. Unfortunately, the hamstring injury he's got right now, which I haven't brought up because it makes me sad, but he is a little banged up. So
yeah.
We'll get through it. We'll get through it. All my 12 dynasty teams with him on them. We'll get through it. All right. So we were going to pull up the Dynasty Nerds GM here and see where our teams kind of ranked. Use that as like a power ranking. Plug the Dynasty Nerds tool. Let's see. Have you pulled up the share screen thing?
Let's do it here. There we go.
All right. Cool. Shout out to Dynasty Nerds for recognizing that my team is the best, right? Is that what it says there? I'm the best?
That's what it says. Yeah. Wow. I mean,
that tool knows what it's talking about.
You grab those 2 quarterbacks right there. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's Josh Allen and Watson. Yeah, for sure.
I'm really proud of the Nerds for having Josh Allen as high as they do in their rankings. It makes me proud. But that's kind of the power rankings based on just the offense, guys. And you can see it's really close. I mean, nobody has a huge advantage. So that kind of shows you that we all kind of were, capable and aware of going through. Is there anybody's team who sticks out to you as maybe too high, too low, too invested in one area? Just based on.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I see, Flea Flicker 10. He's got a lot of wide receivers there. I don't remember off the top of my head who he has, but it'd be interesting to see who he drafted if he went wide receiver early. But it looks like you have quite a few that went running back heavy. So it looks like you have quite a few running backs there that are that should be solid for this year. You got Nixon as well. My running back bar is really high, and I think I neglected wide receiver for the first 4 or 5 rounds or something like that. But yeah. I mean, by far quarterback, it's definitely you. So
I'm really excited for when the tool is updated and we can get some IDP power rankings in here too, because that's gonna, you can see some of these teams are really strong in certain areas and then weak in other areas, but it isn't necessarily always about balance as much as it is just how much firepower do you have at a certain spot. And that's something that I've really been harping on personally this year, is trying to draft for my strengths, not necessarily trying to draft to balance my team out. Like if I think that, tier-based drafting again too, it's just like I would rather just get another guy in an upper tier at this position than get a guy that necessarily my team needs, when I can get a guy in that lower tier later, maybe I don't get my guy, but I'm going to get a similar guy. So that's kind of where the power rankings have us at. So read them off from top to bottom here, just for anybody in case the audio version goes through.
Yeah, so we have the Green Ranger, which is you.
It's me, baby.
We got Laquan, Real Deal Fantasy HQ. We have Nixon at 3rd. You got me at 4th, FF Marvin E. And then you have we have Matt there at Sports Fanatic MB. We have S Ward 12 next up. And then what do we have here is at 7th. We have Flea Flicker 10, Dynasty FF Addict. Then we have Ray next up. Then we have Kate, FF Ball Blast, and then we have Eric right there, EK Baller, and then we have Jake. His name is And I'm Sorry, apparently, and it's last right now. So, yeah, those are the power rankings according to our Dynasty GM tool. So definitely check those out.
Yeah, and that is going through as Dynasty. This is a redraft league, but we figured we'd use that to kind of give you an idea of the strength of guys' teams and stuff like that. So, all right, I'm going to try to pull up people's teams real quick. Let's try this share screen, Chrome tab. All right, did that work? Cool, it worked.
There we go.
All right. So we're going to go through next little bit. We're going to go through our top 3 positional groups at certain positions. And I kind of outlined the defensive guys. And then I guess we'll go over to Marv since he's the offensive guy, the genius, the guru, as they say in the space. But I got for my DL grouping, I had 3 people whose group stuck out to me. And that one of them was Ray's. And it's really just about his starters. Ray has as his starters. Let me get down here. DL. There they are. He's got Joey Bosa, Chubb, and then he also has, where is he at? He has Danielle Hunter down here somewhere. Where is he at? There he is, Danielle Hunter. So he has a pretty good starting lineup. I'm not really sure why he's got Danielle Hunter on the bench. Maybe the hamstring injury is worrying him. But that's a great, Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa are 2 of my top 5 guys for the season. Chubb is a great guy to have on the bench. He's got the dual designations. Joey Bosa is one of the only top guys right now that's not banged up a little bit at the massive extension. So I'm expecting him to return big returns this year. So he's one of the teams I thought had the better defensive lines. Laquan, I thought he had a really good defensive line grouping. Let's see. He's got Myles Garrett, and Chandler Jones is his other guy. I don't know why he doesn't have Chandler Jones in either. Well, let's see if I can pull him up. Chandler Jones, I mean, he's probably the most underrated defensive player in the entire NFL. And it's just because the team he plays on doesn't get a lot of shine, hasn't been winning a lot recently. But he's a sack machine. He was half a sack behind the league leader this year. Ton of forced fumbles. He had 8 right there at TJ Watt. Only 30 years old. That is not old, guys, for a fantasy football player, especially of his caliber, offense or defense anymore. Look at Julio. He's 31. He still should be a first-round pick. So that's kind of what the mold of a player that Chandler Jones is. A little disrespected, but he's going to produce elite numbers. So I gave an edge to him. And then our dude Eric, I gave him the other group that I thought was really good for defensive line. Let me see here. Where's Eric's guys? He's got Zadarius Smith, so I'm sure you like that. You're a Packers fan.
Nice. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and was massively slept on last year, and he let it be known, too, in the playoffs. I'm sure you remember the little snub.
Oh, the snub shirt? Yep.
Yep. And he knew he was going to get that sack, so he wore it. Then we got Carlos Dunlap, who year in and year out is just a 9-sack, 5-pass deflection, 55 tackle guy quietly, for another team that has pretty low brand equity right now. Although Joe Burrow just got there, so that brand equity, whoop, I mean, moonship. So maybe
the whole team's trending up.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's getting a little bit more shine. So maybe this year, if Carlos Dunlap could hit 10 sacks, people give him a little more respect. And then the other guy EK has is another guy who basically puts up similar numbers year in and year out, and that is Cameron Jordan. He's kind of underrated. He's been talking, though. He's been talking his talk, so people have been noticing a little bit more. But he's one of the most consistent pass rushers in the league. Another guy who's 30 this last year, 31. Don't think that's going to slow him down one bit. Tackles numbers are there. The sack numbers are there. So I thought EK had a great starting lineup there for defensive line. So do you want to do one of the offensive positions, and I can pull up some people's stuff there?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to start with quarterback?
Sure. Let's see. Who's got the best quarterbacks? It's going to be me,
All
right?
You're in this group, yeah. For sure, you're one of the 3 that I singled out here. One of the ones that I loved was actually Kate's team. Right. So if we, got
that Dak love.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I love Dak this year. He's got all the weapons he needs in this offense, and I'm definitely a big fan of Dak going into this year. But what I also love about her team is that she got Gardner late and then Kirk Cousins as well. So for me personally, in a super flex, I love grabbing 3 solid guys. You kind of sacrifice that wide receiver or running back potentially in the 10th, 11th round or whatever it is. But grabbing those 3 guys who I think Gardner's, massively slept on with, just, I believe they'll be playing a lot of catch up. with that defense not being the way it was, and then you add in Kirk Cousins, who's just been solid every year. So she's got 3 quarterbacks that I think she can definitely rotate in for bye weeks and everything. So I love that. And then obviously your team. We got your team there.
Let's just look at Gardner Minshew for just a minute.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. What a cutie.
I mean, that stash alone, right? I mean,
these numbers are cute too. 28, 22, 22, 24. We got some big games in there.
Yeah.
30-point game.
Yep. I know he had I think he had quite a few fumbles last year, but he, from an interception standpoint, I think he takes care of the ball in that sense. And he's a mobile quarterback. I love the rushing floor that he has. Last year he was sneaky. He's a sneaky good rusher. So that's one thing I love about him. And so I definitely think he's going to be at very least like a mid QB2, and with the upside of maybe being a QB1 if all things fall right for him. So
agreed.
Yeah. Yep, there we go. It's your team. I love the Deshaun Watson and Josh Allen picks there. I think in Deshaun Watson that he lost Hopkins obviously, but I still believe in him. I think he's massively talented. He's got Cooks, he's got Fuller, he's got Cobb. I think he's got enough there, and he still has those. He still has that rushing floor. So I believe he'll be great this year, and I think he's been kind of falling down draft boards, and I think he's a great guy to grab, and definitely in a super flex. And then pairing that with Josh Allen, who's just as effective on the ground, and he's there's some good reports coming out of camp, so I definitely think with that rushing floor, and I think he'll be 20 points would be kind of that floor that you'd like to hope for, and I think he definitely has that. So
the thing about Josh Allen last year is he only had one big game. Everything else is under 25 or 25 and under basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of deceptive because you go back to his rookie season and he had these monster games, 47, 33, 27, 26. He only had one game close to that. So when you look at the consistency of Josh Allen, you look at the fact that he turned Cole Beasley and John Brown, guys who've had Carson Palmer, Dak Prescott, and Tony Romo throwing them the ball. He gave them their best statistical seasons of their careers, yardage-wise. And then you add Diggs to the mix. I think if you don't like Josh Allen, you're trying not to like Josh Allen at this point. He had almost no turnovers last year. He took the Bills, a team who you can't name anybody basically but Josh Allen and Diggs. Well, and Zach Moss. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Michelle. You can't hardly name anybody else on that team, and he took that team to the playoffs. And he did it with style. They didn't just just make the playoffs. I mean, they stomped into the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like they whooped Dallas on Thanksgiving. They went in with some attitude, and people want to make fun of him for the little back toss thing. He had one that was like the play everyone wants to talk about. Okay, it happened. It happened. One tiny little thing happened. Big deal. He tried to win. And think about that rush that he was doing. I mean, there's so many quarterbacks that they're just throwing it away. He wanted to win. Give Josh Allen, put the ball in Josh Allen's hands. I love it. I think I'm so happy I got him on this team. I'm in another league with EK, and he's old. And I've been trying to get Josh Allen off him for months, but he knows what he's got over there. So the price is right, and I like to buy cheap. So I don't have anything worked out. I've been trying to draft him everywhere I could, though. And then I grabbed a couple of these kind of cheaper guys. I got Winston. I think if Breeze hurts his shoulder, Winston's going to be like a 40-point a week guy. He's just going to be just like he was in last year in Tampa Bay. So,
oh my gosh, yeah. If he starts, man,
in Dynasty right now, getting him as a throw along and knowing that he's 26 years old and that Drew Brees is basically going to retire in the next 2 years for sure. And Sean Payton's doing his homework. I mean, he's right there with him. I mean, guys like this, he's got top 5 dynasty upside. I mean,
oh, for sure.
And we know he's got top 5 seasonal upside. I mean, so he's a guy I like buying. And then I got Tua in this league too, but I don't know how that's really going to work out. Let's jump to the next defensive positional group. I don't want to keep you on here too late, but we're going to talk about the linebackers next. So on here, I had Jake Trowbridge. He had a pretty good linebacking core. Let's see where my guy at. Where's he at? Scroll up. Jake, where are you? There he is, right below me. Jake has got – okay, Jordan Hicks, amazing pick, blew up last year. A little lower down here, I know he also has Bobby Wagner.
Ooh, yeah.
Bobby Wagner crushed that pick. Tahir Whitehead, low key coming in to probably fill that role left behind by Luke Kuechly, has been basically a 120 tackle guy for the past 4 or 5 years. Just nothing flashy about him. He's not a name you're really going to hear brought up in a lot of elite linebacker conversations. But when it comes to IDP, a producer's a producer, So I love that pick as kind of a dark horse to be a solid pick for his team. And then another guy, another Josh Allen that I love to stand for is the Josh Allen who is double tag DL and linebacker down there in Jacksonville. I love playing him as my third linebacker, 3 linebacker set, knowing that he's got the sack upside. He had the second most sacks of all the rookies. He played, I think, the least number of snaps of all the rookies, and he still produced big numbers. He was top 24 guy, so ahead of some other pretty big names out there. So I thought that was a great linebacking group. Nixon also had what I thought was a pretty good group. Let's pull his team up. Are you working? Here we go. So he's got Devin White, who I'm not anti Devin White. I think we need to throw a little water on Devin White. He's going to be good. He's going to be great. With Levante David still there, who's an all-pro, a commodity we all know is going to produce. I just see his upside's capped just a little bit. Leighton Vander Esch, you got him kind of late. As long as Leighton Vander Esch is healthy, he is going to be a top 15 linebacker. I mean, you go back to even last year, the numbers he was putting up, 10 sacks or 10 tackles, 11 tackles, 10 tackles. I mean, that's what you are looking for in a linebacker. And you go back to 2018 when he was like the number 2 linebacker behind Darius Leonard, 10, 14, 10, 13, 10, 15, and this isn't even showing his pass deflections, which I really wish that Sleeper would include on this little bar here. But he had he's not bad in coverage either, so he has some pass deflections to his name. I loved that pick by Nixon. And then the other guy on his team that I wanted to bring up, actually, that's it for his linebackers I was going to talk about. So those are his 3. Oh, did I say Roquan Smith? Roquan Smith, which I thought was a great pick. He also had messaged me about Miles Jack, who I think you ended up picking, didn't you?
I did not grab Miles Jack.
He messaged me and was talking to me about Miles Jack at one point, and then somebody took him shortly after that, and I remember being like, oh, he's probably pissed. But Roquan Smith, I mean, 10, 11, 11, 15, I mean, talk about a ceiling and a floor. I mean, he's just consistent. And again, pass deflections aren't being shown on here. But he plays every snap. He's got first-round draft pedigree. I mean, he was a top 10 pick, top 15 pick, I'm pretty sure. So, great linebacking core from him. And then the last team who we're going to bring up is your team again. So Marvel here, he's got some pretty good linebackers. Some guys that I like is kind of, I don't want to say they're sleepers, but I mean, Zach Cunningham is getting no respect. Had the most tackles in the AFC, and you can get him as linebacker 20 right now. Sometimes it's unreal. Look at these numbers. 14, 17, 16, 11, throwing in a couple half sacks here and there. Plays basically they don't play. There was one thing I remember. He only played about 85, 90% of snaps last year too. So he's able to put up these numbers while coming off the field occasionally. So imagine, if, Houston is not as good, their defense on the field a little bit more. Maybe they keep him on the field a little bit more with the efficiency that he's got. You could be holding on to a linebacker 1, like the linebacker 1, maybe.
Hey, I'd love that. With Jalen Smith too.
Oh yeah. We don't even go over here. The guy who really, I mean, here's his stunting right here. This guy is insane. I think he's got, what is it? I want to pull up on PFR. I think he's got 7 or 8 sacks in the past 2 years. I mean, on top of the fact that he is just crushing these tackle numbers, he is great in coverage.
Yeah, 6.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons. What I have here. So does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Those are some big numbers from a linebacker. You know what I mean?
Right.
IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring. That's a 3-point play. That is what you are looking for. And on top of it, I mean, he just, he stunts. He's a good. He hits hard and he plays some tough football, and that he's the kind of leader Dallas really needs. Kind of a humble, just gets it done kind of guy. So, and then who was your other linebacker here? I had written.
I think I had Kirksey in there too.
Yep, Kirksey. That was your other guy. This is a great pick. You go back, he was injured in 2019, did not play much. Got injured in 2018, but you go back to 2017, he was a top 10 linebacker. And then you go back to 2016, he was a top 10 linebacker with the Browns. He his defensive coordinator or coach from those years in the Browns is now with Green Bay, so they are reunited. So I think you could again have another guy that's just sitting there in the top 10 on your team. So I don't like saying that. I wish I was saying that about my linebacking core, but you definitely killed this draft with your linebackers, and that's a position that most IDP players count as a premium. So you got a good stable there. It feels like that until one of them goes down, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any linebackers.
Oh my gosh, yeah, exactly. I think I tried to grab a couple guys for my bench, but man, it's hard to find the balance of finding depth for offense and defense. I think that was the toughest part in this draft.
Yeah, and again, it's it's one of those things where it gives you a lot of options, a lot of outs. If you play poker, you got a lot of outs when you play IDP because you have a whole different, you have a whole other group of guys to get points from. So team builds are very, very interesting. So that was the linebacker groups I really liked. What's the other? Let's talk about another offensive group. What you got for us?
Yeah, let's go with wide receiver here. I if you go to Ray's team, I love the wide receivers that he drafted. I mean, he went wide receiver early, but man, that's one heck of a core right there. So he has Tyreek Hill. Definitely think he by the end of the year, his finish didn't look that great, but he was injured. But from a points per game standpoint, he was fantastic last year, and he just has the best quarterback throwing to him. I can't really, that it's hard to deny his upside. I think he's got, top 2 upside here. He could finish as the wide receiver 1 and getting him, I think that was even his second pick. I think he grabbed Julio first, and that's, love that combination of Julio and Tyreek.
Tyreek was number 1 overall, I believe, in PPR or standard, number 3 in PPR in 2018. Yeah, people are not giving him the kind of credit he deserves, I don't think. So great pick, like you said.
For sure. And
Julio, to match him up with Julio Jones, I mean, give me a break.
Exactly. I mean, he's, everyone says he's 31, but man, he just continues to produce. I mean, everyone says he doesn't, score the touchdowns, but if he gives you, 150 yards, you're not going to be complaining about that. So I love Julio in redraft, and having him as your wide receiver 1, Tyreek as your wide receiver 2, that's scary.
Yeah, that's scary. I didn't realize Ray was a 0 RB truther. I mean, you learn a lot about people when you draft with them.
Well, he added Amari too later on, Cooper Kupp, and man, that's it. Just I mean, you can't. Amari as your wide receiver 3. Wow,
he went buck wild. I think he was the one who was actually like, "Damn it, I wanted to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire whenever you took him." But I mean, look at this: wide receiver 4 on his team. We already know Amari Cooper was a top 3 guy to start the season last year. So he started getting nicked up. I mean, he's got half the top 10 wide receivers on his team. Yeah, give me a break. Get out of here, guy. I'm almost scared to look. Jalen Reagor, Brian Edwards. Of course he does.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to come up against him. Who else you got for a nice wide receiver core for us here?
So we have Flea Flicker FB. He's got Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, Thielen, Metcalf, and Hollywood Brown as his top 5. So I kind of like the depth that he has there. And I think Mike Evans, you see right there. I think I know we love Godwin, and Godwin had that great season last year, but Mike Evans will give you 1,000 yards, I believe, and he's being slept on. I think he's kind of dropping in ADP, but I love having him even as my wide receiver 1, and for this team, he's a wide receiver 2 with Michael Thomas. So.
Yeah, that's a good stack. I've been finding myself passing on Mike Evans after being I'm a Mike Evans truther. He's on a lot of my dynasty teams, but I have not been drafting him a lot, and I have not been going out to acquire him a lot because I know as someone who owns him what he's going to cost to get off of a team, because I do believe, but at the same time, I don't want to go out and pay if I don't already have him on my team. And that's kind of a weird position to be in with him, because I mean, he's like you said, the numbers are right there. I mean, he's got a number 1 overall finish. He's at 1,000 yards every year of his career. He now has the best quarterback of his career. He's got a coach that loves to go downfield. He's got an accurate quarterback, and now is he the alpha on that team? Is he the second option, the third option? If we decide to give Gronk more love than we should, he's not going to be getting picked on quite as much, which means he's going to be able to get open maybe a little bit more and have more catchable targets. I don't know how many times I saw Jameis Winston overthrow him.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
that's
Yeah,
the
I
thing
think it was
about Mike Evans too. He missed weeks. He missed multiple weeks last year.
right.
He only played really 12 games last season. I mean, if you really look at it, because he had a 0. What was that in week 3, week 4? He had an
Mhm.
absolute 0 week 5, and then he didn't play the last 3 weeks of the season. So I
Yeah.
mean, he really only played 12 games, and he finished as a top 10 wide receiver in standard and top 15 in PPR. And that's with multiple zeros and number 1 finishes. I mean, he's got number 1 upside, 42 points, a 45-point game.
Yeah, for sure.
Big
Yep.
stuff.
You have the consistency there on that team with Michael Thomas, and then you have the week winning upside with Mike Evans. I mean, that's solid right there.
And then
And
to
then you
add
have,
Adam Thielen.
yeah, love it. I mean, Thielen's PPR guy. I think he's kind of the forgotten guy here with after an injured season. But you look at his the season before that, and even early on to start the season, he wasn't terrible, right? It's just it's just the injury kind of hobbled him more than I think we would have liked. But I still think he could be the main target there for Kirk Cousins. So
Oh yeah. I mean, if he can stay healthy, he's going to have a monster year because I mean, he's just going to get funneled to. I mean, he might have a Michael Thomas-esque kind of season. I mean, so yeah, that's great to get him as your wide receiver 3 or 4 or whatever he's got on his team. Great core there. And then he's got DK Metcalf for some upside, and who else he had? Kind of Deontay Johnson, or no, it's David Johnson, Duke Johnson. My bad. Yeah,
one of the D Johnsons and
yeah, one of the D Johnsons. Yeah, exactly. All right, and then who was that 2 or is that 3 wide receiver?
Yep, that was 2. So the third one I have was actually Matt. So
Matt Bruning, where are you at, buddy?
Yeah, there it is. And he has Hopkins there. He has Kenny Galladay, Sutton, Landry. So I think those are kind of a couple guys that I think Landry's kind of just, he's been injured, I think, over this offseason, I believe. So it's just one of those things where he's kind of forgotten, but he's been so consistent. You add Hopkins, who has upside, Kenny G, who has just as much upside as well. So love that core right there.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry is always slept on. He's like, you can get him as your wide receiver 5 right now sometimes. I mean, that's what he did too. I mean, it's unreal. Yeah. We all know what Kenny Galladay is. He's basically a more athletic Mike Evans. Cortland Sutton, yeah, he's got a great wide receiver core there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'm going to finish out our defensive back core, our cores here. So I got Ward down for one of the better defensive back cores. He has got who we got here? He's got, that's not his team. His team's on the right. Okay, don't want to get it wrong. So he's got Jonathan Abram, who a lot of people are very high on. I'm a little more skeptical of Jonathan Abram just because I haven't seen him do it yet. He only played a little bit last year until he got hurt. 5 tackles in his NFL career. I want to see what happens with him, but I like that as a dark horse pick as probably his 3rd guy because he's got Jeremy Chin, who is a rookie, but he's coming into a role left behind by Eric Reed. No cool picture there. He has Marcus May, who's been getting a lot of shine now that Jamal Adams is gone. People are talking about him coming into that role. He kind of just lucked into that one as far as I can tell, so kudos to him on that. And then he's also got Derwin James somewhere down here. Here he is, who is a lot of people have as number 1 defensive back. I am kind of throwing a little water on that. But he's a good pick, I mean, as a guy that's part of your team and part of your core, I'm fine with him. And he's also got Jabril Peppers on this team too. That was the other guy I really liked.
Yeah. Didn't you have him pretty high in your rankings?
Yeah, I have Jabril Peppers at 5 in redraft right now. And I think in Dynasty, I have to look exactly, but I have him pretty high as well. I mean, he was pacing for a top 5 season this last year before he got hurt. High tackle numbers, couple of interceptions, forced fumbles. He had a touchdown. Multiple pass deflections. Tackles for loss are not on here either, but he had several tackles for loss. So that's an awesome defensive back group.
And I love the dual eligibility there too for him, right? Isn't he linebackers DB as well?
Yep. So if you need to play him in a pinch on a week where your linebacking core is falling apart and you know what you're going to get with Jabril Peppers and you don't want to just play some guy that's coming up, you can pop him in and then you can put in Jonathan Abram and Jeremy Chin, or you can put in Derwin James.
Exactly.
So, love that. All right, so then we got your team again. Here you are. You got, like I said, you sharked us in this draft. You pulled up Landon Collins, he's my number 2 guy in redraft this year. And
all right,
I mean, he's had 100 tackles every year of his career except for the one, and that was when he only played 12 games. 117, 104, 125. He's been an All-Pro. gets behind the line of scrimmage. He had like 9 tackles for losses last year. He's had double-digit pass deflection seasons. If there was anybody that was going to overtake Jamal Adams in my rankings for this season, it was Landon Collins, but I kept Jamal Adams at number 1. I love that pick for your team. Then you paired him up with Jordan Poyer, a guy who doesn't have monster tackle numbers necessarily. He does hit over 100 the last 2 years, but he gets all these little extras: sack, 3 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, interceptions. I call them impact plays. That's pretty much any play that's over a 3-point play in IDP 1-2-3 scoring. He just racks those up, and it makes up for the fact that maybe he does have that season where he hits 95 tackles or 85 tackles. He's going to have enough other stuff because of the versatility of him as a player. So I love him for you as a 2 as well. I mean, get out of here. Then you got Terrell Edmonds. This guy is a tackle monster. I'm a Steelers fan, like I said. He had a pretty boring year last year. He was just a tackle guy. But my argument for him as a guy to keep an eye on is once a couple of these other things fall his way, I mean, the trajectory's up. You know what I mean? It's going to be, add a sack, add a force, add just one of each of those, add a couple of impact plays, and you're looking at a guy who was 13 last year at strong safety. I'll have to pull up exactly where he finished in IDP 1-2-3 scoring, but I think it was in the top 30. But he could easily, with a 100 tackle floor on the Steelers defense that's so disruptive, he comes down with an interception. He knocks out a forced fumble. He's a part of a couple of these big plays that do happen on the Steelers team. He's instantly, a top 10 guy with that floor. So I love him for your team. I keep saying that, and it hurts me to say that I love your team, because usually when I'm in group chats, all I do is talk shit. I'm like, man, your team sucks. but I gotta be honest with people out here and let them know you have some good stuff. Then you have Chuck Clark.
Yeah,
came on kind of strong last year. He just got Earl Thomas kicked out of town. And we kind of don't know what's going to happen with these linebackers for the Ravens. But we do know Chuck Clark is going to be around. 3-year, $19 million contract extension. He will be on the field, and he will produce. So, yeah, I really loved your defensive back group. And then the last person who had a good defensive back group, I picked Kate. It's not really a traditional defensive back group where, I just went through yours. It was all safeties because you're a shark.
I did grab quite a few there towards the end. So
yeah, but she's got some interesting guys here, some upside plays. So she's got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who a lot of people want to kind of dump on because he doesn't get a lot of tackles. Okay, like sue him. He gets 75 tackles a year average. That's not bad. But on top of that, look at these impact plays. And he's played 16 games, but he has not started 16 games in his career. He did not start the first few games in Miami. He did not last year or the year before. So he's produced without necessarily being given the reins. When he got to the Steelers, he was given the reins, and you can see the impact plays were crazy. I'm not saying he's going to have 5 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 fumble recoveries this year, but I'm also saying that he could easily have more than 69 tackles. He could easily have some more pass deflections, and on a disruptive defense like the one he's on, the big play opportunities will be there. So I really like that pick for her as an upside shot, free safety. And she's got Kenny Moore, who's a little banged up right now, but for a cornerback, he is one of the best cornerbacks you can get. His tackle numbers 77, 61. That's close to what a free safety puts up. He's going to be playing in the slot, so he should get plenty of tackles. I like that on her team. She got Marshawn Lattimore, who, when he came into the league, wasn't he like defensive rookie of the year or something like that? He had a great, 5 interceptions his rookie year. So in this, AFC South, this is NFC South, right? NFC South. In the NFC South, this division is going to be lit up this year. I mean, you got Tom Brady in the division, you got Drew Brees in the division, you've got Matt Ryan, your quarterback's in there, and then you got Teddy Bridgewater. But these should be some shootouts, and there should be some chances for guys that are number 1 corners to cover a lot and have opportunities to make plays on the ball, to make pass deflections, to make interceptions. Some of these, Tom Brady's noodle arm might kick in. We might see some Peyton Manning type stuff out here. Go win a Super Bowl, leading the league in interceptions. So,
oh my gosh, that'd be something.
That's I like him as an upside pick. A lot of people that play traditional IDP would probably kind of dog her team, but I'm a big believer in you build a team in a certain kind of way. And I really like kind of what she did here. A lot of upside. And then she got Eric Rowe, who came in to replace old Minkah, or at least play some safety there. I don't know if he played free or strong mostly, but he had a half decent season last year, 80 tackles. That's not bad. Full 16 games. I don't think he necessarily started early on. So that was kind of her starters. And I think she had one other guy down here I was really kind of into on her defensive back group. No, that's the main guys. But she's got some corners. She's got some underappreciated safeties there. So I wanted to give that team a shout out. An interesting build she's got going on there. And then you have one more group for us, right?
Yeah, let's go over the running backs. So the first one I have here is Eric. Loved his first 2 picks there, and he had some depth as well. So Christian McCaffrey, I mean, you can't really go wrong with Christian McCaffrey. It's about as good of a pick as anyone, right? And I mean, he's just going to provide you with that high floor and high upside as well.
Monster.
I mean, what else can you say, right?
If he doesn't get hurt, I mean, just run it back over and over and over.
Exactly. And there's always the possibility that this offense kind of elevates with Teddy Bridgewater going in. We have Joe Brady now there too as the OC. I mean, this could be a surprisingly good, fantasy offense. And you can't go wrong with Christian McCaffrey with 1,000 yards rushing and receiving.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to be a great, obviously he's the 101 for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he pairs it with Austin Eckler, who I think, he's one of the more polarizing guys out there, right? I think you have a group of people that think he's being overdrafted, and you have a couple that are saying, oh, he's a sleeper there. And I'm kind of in between. I do think I would take him even earlier than this, but I think he has that floor of without Melvin Gordon there. And even last year, he didn't get a lot of the touches, right? But he was still productive. And I think this year it'll be more of the same. And him as in a PPR league, I love Eckler. And then with Christian McCaffrey, you got 2 guys there that could provide some pretty big games week to week.
Yeah, I mean, he was 7 yards shy of that 1,000-yard receiving season that Christian McCaffrey we all love to ooh and ah over. I really felt bad for him because I had him on a team, on a couple of my teams last year, and I remember watching that game, and he was 7 yards short for like the whole second half, and I was like, come on, Anthony Lynn, just give this guy another dump off, and it just never happened. I was so pissed.
It's so close there.
It got me.
Love this start right here for him. And then he has Carson as well, who I think is kind of been the sleeper of the last 2 years. I mean, he's just kind of
underrated.
Yeah, he just continues to produce. And I don't remember, but don't quote me on this, but he's been one of the more productive rushers. If you look at total rush yards over the last 2 years, he's up there with some of the best. And obviously there are some concerns with health, and if he can stay healthy, I think he could be as an RB3. I mean, that's just a home run for me.
RB3, he's an RB1 for 15 weeks. Yeah, I'll take. Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, look at these numbers, 133. I mean, look at these touches too.
Love it.
15, then 20, and this is the fumbling games too. Then after that, they feed him 22, 27, 24. They're like, that's confidence. That's saying, go show us that you won't do this again. And people just, it's early in the season. It kind of lingered around with them. A fumble, lost all 3 of them. Everybody's throwing their hands up. Everybody's panicking. Only 15 carries in each of those games. And then he comes back out and he's basically doubling those carries. No fumbles, 5 yards a clip, 6 yards a clip. I mean, he's putting up big numbers. Okay, he hurts his hip near the end of the season. He broke his leg a year or 2 back, but the yards don't lie. I mean, 1,200 yards in 15 games, 1,100 yards a season before in 14 games.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's breathing down this guy's neck. Rashad Penny does not scare me. DJ Dallas right now does not scare me. JD McKissick's not there anymore. I don't even know who else is there besides those 2. Oh, Carlos Hyde. He doesn't scare me. Carlos Hyde got almost this many touches last year, and we know he didn't do anything close to what Carlos Hyde did with him last year, or what Chris Carson did. So, yeah, as a 3, I love him. You can't get him as a 3 anymore. He's pushed his way up into the second round of most ADP that I've been seeing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, love those 3 right there. The other one that I had, and you'll like this one, is your running back core.
Yeah, baby. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's take a look. I mean, you start out with Barkley. Similar to Christian McCaffrey, I think he's one of those guys that is dual threat, receiving back, will get you those PPR points. Was injured a little bit last year, and you kind of forget how good he is. I think he didn't start off as hot as you would have loved, but he finished strong, right? So I definitely think this year, another year with Daniel Jones, and with all of the receivers healthy, hopefully we have Ingram for a full 16 games. I think that kind of opens everything up for him, and you can't go wrong with Barkley. I love him, and he's one of the one of the guys that I love taking as one of the top 2 picks.
Oh yeah, he finished top 10, and he only played in 14 games. I mean, look at this first game: 11 attempts for 120 yards. I mean, this guy is wild. I mean, he's just unreal.
Right.
And I mean, look at how he finished out the season: 24 for 112, 22 for almost 200 rushing yards. Yards per carry is just through the roof. I mean, he's the whole package.
Definitely. And then you have Kenyon Drake there, who I think has a lot of upside. Finished once he was traded. I mean, he was just lights out, right? He was week to week. Well, not necessarily week to week, but he's got those high week winning games for you. And hopefully he's healthy here. I know there's some, there's rumors going. Well, not rumors, reports about his the walking boot. So hopefully he's healthy to start the year. But if he is, I think as an RB2, man, it's a really good pick right there.
Yeah, and he's only really been good when he's gotten the opportunity. I mean, he's never really gotten the opportunity, but you go back and just look. I mean, the yards per carry has always been crazy high. He's always been able to put up fantasy points, even when he's barely, playing 50% of snaps. He has big games all through his career. I mean, it's littered all the way back. You go back and look. He gets snaps, he gets points. He gets snaps, he gets points. If he gets snaps, he gets points. He's not with, as the ballers call him, B-hole anymore. I mean, he's on a team that, even look at this. These are games where he's getting almost no snaps. He's still putting up, he's still rushing for a high yards per carry. Yards per carry doesn't mean anything. Whatever, I don't care. He gets it done. He's going to get these high snaps. He's on a team that moves the ball. I love getting him, and I'm not really concerned about the walking boot.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he does with as the lead guy. And then, your next 2 running backs, Taylor and Akers, I think have a lot of upside this year. Taylor is obviously he was my RB1 going into the draft, and I love his landing spot. And I know Mac is still there, but I do think he'll produce this year. I think he'll eclipse 1,000 yards. They ran the ball a lot last year, and I think that's one thing you have to consider. So even if his workload is, I don't know, 50% of the carries, 40% of the carries, that's still a lot of carries in that offense. So I do think he'll be great this year. And as your RB3, that's pretty high upside right there.
And as a dynamic runner, getting those many opportunities could push the issue, and he could get more. So there's definitely a path for him kind of just taking over. And I got Cam Akers a little bit later too, who I'm still not sure how I feel about Akers at this point. I'm happy to have a guy who could be a starter as my 4th, though. So I'll say that.
Yeah, high upside. It's hard to know with that offense who the lead back's going to be. But, hey, I mean, you got to grab these guys that can win you leagues, right? And Akers could be potentially that. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah. And I guess the third one, I had a couple in there that I really liked, just kind of as a tie. I do like my running back core. I don't want to focus too much on it. Cook, Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but, there were
you already been featured in so many other segments, man. Come on.
But I do want to shout out Nixon really quick. I know we're ending here, but starting out with Elliott and Sanders could potentially be, league-winning combination right there. So I really like that too.
Yeah, it's going to be a competitive league. It's going to be a fun league. I'm excited for in it. I'm excited for everybody that, like I said, I reached out to probably 50, 60, 70 people. I got a bunch of no's, but I got yeses, and I got yeses from the right people, I think, people that are actually interested. And IDP is growing. This time next year, I look forward to, even 1 or 2 of you guys kind of get a little bit more into it, throw out an article, maybe put out some rankings, just be part of the conversation to push IDP forward. And again, having a nice mole in the footballers, camp, you can be whispering in their ears. I know their editor, Kyle Borg, he's in his first IDP league this season too. So maybe you guys chop it up, talk a little bit of, maybe you guys can take over. Don't take over the market, but, join us, come, play more IDP and help us.
Absolutely.
Help us turn everyone that plays it, let's get everybody sharp, let's keep putting out good content. So I'm excited for this season. I'm excited to talk about this league. I'm excited for, I'm excited for football, man. Like we're less than 2 weeks away. Like I get the chills. It's
so close, man. We're almost there. Can't wait.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to close us out. IDP Army, Nerd Herd. We appreciate you guys. This has been a fun show. Hopefully we'll keep you guys abreast of what's going on in this league throughout the season. And yeah, we'll keep you updated, and we look forward to, giving you guys good content throughout the season. So shout out to Marv for coming on, or Marvin. Appreciate you coming in, man. I'm happy for you getting signed with the Ballers. I also applied for that job, but you beat me. So fair and square.
I appreciate that, man. No, I'm really glad to be here talking with you, some IDP. I love the format and can't wait to just dive into this season. So,
yeah. Again, shout out to the nerds. They've been really good to us and good to me. So, yeah, I guess we'll see you guys sometime somewhere with more content in the near future. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off, IDP Army. Be good. Take care.